Hey, poke yourself out of there. Come on. Look at that. Very. Oh, hey, hey, Instagram, it's me, T, from the Pattersons, taking the train to Tibet. My wife's a tailor, and she taught me this little. Well, she taught me. I saw her. She a little trick. You know, she has straight. If you have straight threads and stuff like that, what you do is you take a lighter and you burn a little straight thread off, and then you're good to go. And speaking of that, this is a Grand Rising report, and what that means to you uninitiated. See, because there are uninitiated. No, I'm a radio man. They used to say in radio, I guess they still say it. There's a new audience member every 15 minutes. I guess it goes same thing for, well, look. This is a Grand Rising report. We're here in India, southern India, and well, it's almost sunrise, so it's a Grand Rising. You see, it was Grand Rising report. And let's learn something new every day. I can say, you learn something new many moments of every day. You know, that would be good. Like, for instance, I learned just this morning, well, I knew it, or I saw it, but I learned it. Learning means something else. When you're actually doing something, that's when you're learning. I know you say, well, I could read it. For instance, I could read a book and I'll learn. Well, yeah, but, wait a second. When you're reading a book, you're doing. I'm just saying, right? So anyway, here's the thing. I like incense, you know. I like the incense around here. So you see the smoke wafting, right? It's what I call. Wait for it. It's a water. Okay. It's not an audio. It's a visual watermark. Well, watermark comes from, you know, where when you have a document and then you have a little shadow under, or not a shadow watermark. You have like a stamp, like it's perforated, not perforated, but you know, it's a raised thing, and that's like a watermark. And then they changed it. Watermark can also mean like you have a image behind the thing. And then, you know, it's just an image that's faint enough for you to say, hey, that's authentic. That's different than if I just had a blank piece of paper, right? So anyway, I came up with the idea that, like, when I used to do normal radio, I guess if I still do normal radio whenever I do it, there's a jazz album from this jazz group, the Art Ensemble of Chicago. They have the thing, People in Sorrow. Hey, good title. It's a piece, right? A lot of chimes and bells and whistles and stuff like that. It's sporadic. It's the Art Ensemble of Chicago. So when I do normal radio, I used to play that in the background all the time. So if anybody ever bootlegged my normal radio, well, how are you going to get rid of the chimes and whistles? You know, so I wouldn't know what's that. You see. Always thinking. But now we changed medium. Now we're doing in front of the camera. So how do you do that? I can't be having music. Well, I could. You know, some people have music. But don't you want to hear my dulcet tones? Dulcet, good word. Don't you want to hear my dulcet tones? Let me try that again. Don't you want to hear my dulcet tones? In old time radio, what you do, you stick it here, because what happens is you hear your voice differently. You hear your voice from your inner ear. Like, for instance, when I'm talking like that, like this, now you hear me, right? But I don't hear me like that. I hear me from my inner ear. But here, when you do like this, you hear it like when people do, and that makes you lower your voice. That's why you see those. Like, who would it do it? Was it Saturday? Like one of those programs like that. They used to stick the phone and say, and you do know that you feel that the bass, the gravitas. That's not the right word for this. You can feel it like that. So anyway, the point is, so I adapted. I'm going like, since this is audio, I can do a visual thing and the smoky thing. Now here's the thing. I always come up with stuff. Whenever I'm in a new situation, I always come up with stuff. I'm waiting to see who bites off this idea. Somebody's got to be biting. In fact, you might even say, people have been doing that for years. Well, I got to find out who has been doing this because it came from my brain in my epoch. I like to say epoch these days. In my time period, right? There might have been somebody 30 years from now. 30 years ago from now. 30 years ago. When did TV start? Yeah, about 30, whatever. They used to do this, you know? I don't know. But we know that DeBrother is doing it right now, so there you go. So, okay, that's what I learned. Okay. So I learned also just a few, I was talking about lighting the incense, right? Now, I learned that when you put a couple of incense together, in other words, I can light it like one stick. Like one stick at a time, right? Or I can light it. I'll do that. I'll tell you another time about that. What the heck? I ain't gonna talk about it now because then I have to light. I gotta do all that stuff, and now I don't want to do that. Right. Back to the point. The other thing I learned, I knew this already, but it pays to be Anthony. Anthony would be me, T from the Palace of Secretary of Japan. Because I wear this shit. Well, it hangs there. Every once in a while, I put it on. It goes with this tab because it got the white, and then sometimes I have a red thing, so it's red, white, and blue because it's Coast Guard. Coast Guard is my travel shirt. But I said, well, what's this? I look in the pocket, and lo and behold, I got some local money. And then I realized, and the funny thing is, this is like 100 rupees, and I'm paying my every week I pay my Ayurvedic guy, right? And it's like whatever it is, but I need a single 100 rand, keep on saying rand. Rand is South African. I live in South Africa. I get it through rupee, rand, anyway. So I need a single thing because I pay him with the 500 rupee things, and then I have to have a single thing. And I was figuring, oh man, that guy give it. I like to give exact change. So look at that. I found exact change, and I'll put this back in my pocket because Anthony does this all the time. He got clothes like he has money in pockets, right? So if ever I get desperate, I start going through pockets. I start going through pockets to find, how you say, money. Okay. So that's another thing I learned today. It pays to be Anthony. It literally pays to be Anthony. But that's not what I want to talk about today. This is Grand Rising. Grand Rising, I'm supposed. Oh, by the way, we're still in Blue Light. So, hey, shout out to Blue Light Brigade. Hope you learned something just in this last few minutes. Blue Light Brigade. Blue Light is like a half hour before sunrise and up until like 10 minutes before sun. They call it something else, but I call it Blue Lights, right? I call it Blue Light because I can name anything I want. Because think about all those human beings that came before me, and they plant their flags and stuff like that, and they'll plant their flags, and they'll call something. They name it after their queen or their princess or whatever it is. And then for years and years, people will call it that. What was that name before it was that? You know, and people will say, oh, "Duh, we don't know. We done killed everybody." We done genocide everybody in the area. So and that was written. There was people that didn't write anything down, and even if they wrote it down, we couldn't pronounce what it is, and we didn't want to pronounce it, and so therefore it's called what it is now. That is a shame, a sin, and a shame. Anyway, back to the point. So I name stuff the way I want to name stuff. If I say this is blue light, which is the photography, it's supposed to be when blue light is a good time to take photography like that. You see how I am right now? Blue light photography is a good time. Sunrise, sunset, good time. Okay. Oh, so anyways, I'm supposed to give you a report. This is a Grand Rising report, so I'm trying to give you a Grand Rising report. What I learned, I have a, okay, I had planned, okay, let me go back. We're in, close to a place called Orville. We're in Orville. Orville's right up, Orville Road is right there. You can walk up in Orville. I knew Orville from like 20 years ago when I first got here because I had some healing to do. I found out about it because when I was in Cape Town doing a workshop, I had just, well, a couple of years before that, had a serious accident with C5 vertebrae. I was from the sea like that, man, I was drowning, whatever it was. I was paralyzed. And they got me out. My niece actually saved me. And then she told me this bald guy helped me out because she was like 13 at the time. And so they pulled me out, got me on a beach, and I was still like that. But then I could talk. I couldn't move, but I could talk. And they said, can you, and then the lifeguard was there, and they said, don't move. And I said, no, I'm all right, let me up. I guess I could move a little bit like that. And they said, wait. They stuck some pins, I didn't know what it was, pins in my legs. They said, can you feel that? I said, no, but I'm all right, let me up. I was in shock. I said, no, stay there, don't move. Well, I couldn't move. Actually, I was paralyzed with neck down. So they went. I was close enough. There was a hospital right there, so the ambulance came on the beach, took me to the hospital, and they actually would save me from being totally paralyzed. And they shot me with some steroids. The steroids arrest this swelling because how you get paralyzed when you have a spinal cord injury, it's swelling like the swelling cuts the circulation off and whatever have you. So you don't get any whatever in your, and then no blood, no circulation, and you like poof like that. So therefore I was in ICU. I couldn't move. Then I did everyone. I got my feeling back a little bit, but I still couldn't really move. Couldn't move my arm, my legs. I couldn't move my legs at all, like that. And then they figured out some. I was 3 days in there. Then I could get out somehow. I started moving. Right. They put me on a ward there, and they figured out somewhere in there. They figured out that I was a veteran. So I'm cutting this short because I started to walk. I mean, there was a walk. It's a long story. Don't worry about the part. And they sent me over to a special hospital in, I guess it was in Richmond. It was Richmond, Virginia. But this happened in Virginia Beach, Virginia Beach. So I guess it was Richmond, wherever it was. It was a special hospital. It's the same hospital. Those doctors from that hospital, it was a veterans hospital. Those doctors from that hospital, they were so specialized that when Christopher Reeve, the guy that played Superman, got on a horse accident and he got paralyzed, well, those are the doctors that came and dealt with him, right? But in this hospital, this VA, it's a VA, the Veterans Administration Hospital, there's a wing, totally dedicated to spinal cord injuries, and that's where I was. That's a whole other story, because I met somebody there that I worked for there. I have to tell that story sometime. That was wild. That was wild. I'm a wild boy, but when you put a wild boy in a wild situation, woof. Anyway, back to Grand Rising Report. The reason I bring all this stuff up is because I knew that, anyway, I have my sciatic, my whole structure, my whole, what they call hamstring, has been tight since the 90s that I know of. Because when I was taking capoeira, we had a physical therapist. I was taking capoeira, and somehow we had to massage each other. Something we had to. He says, you have the tightest hamstrings I've ever felt in my life. And he was a physical therapist. So since the 90s, I knew there was a problem. Right? But I could move when I get into capoeira. I'm like all men. I don't want to say it's just black men, but okay, let me just be that. Like all black men, we don't pay no attention to no medical thing. You got a medical issue, poof. You gotta, as Judge Joe Brown would say, we gotta man up. Or I guess he means it for another different way like that. Well, anyway, the point is, I knew this in the 90s. And then what happened? Then after that, somewhere in that was before. Anyway, the point is, finally, like last year, I said, look, I got to do something about it because I was in Oroville when I first had the accident. That's right. Like 2 years after the accident, the incident with the sea, I call it the incident with the sea. Then I came to Oroville. That was a whole other thing. Came to Oroville and did some massage thing or whatever. But that really didn't. Well, I told them, hey, look at that. It's sunrise. Hey, okay, welcome to the new day. Everybody, let us do what we do. We're going to take a breath, then a short breath. I keep going, take another short breath. Then we're going to let out. Ready? Welcome to the new day, Grand Rising. Okay, back to the point. So I knew about Oroville. I knew Oroville as a healing place. I'm not going to go into the whole details, but I've had. So, like last year, a year and a half ago, I said, I'm feeling a certain way. I got to get to Oroville because if there's a healing modality any place, or concentrated healing modality any place in the world, I know it's Oroville. You can get to Oroville. You can be healed in a holistic way. Forget all that part. So I came to Oroville last year, and I found this. That's a whole other thing. Oroville's sort of magic place. Found this other modality, whatever. It doesn't matter. So I took some Ayurvedic thing. I was there for about 4 months, and it was getting better. But it was getting better. But then, so I was there from January. They're like here from January to April, something like that. January, March, April. Then I said, well, I'm still, because just before I came back last time, I got the Bell's palsy, and that was weird, Then I said, okay, let me come back this year, continue, the healing, because I felt it was progressing, but not as whatever it is. And just before I came this time, I got some weird thing with my shoulder, and like, oh man, I couldn't raise it up, it's a sharp pain there, whatever happened. And what is it? Every time I come to Oroville, right before I come, there's something catastrophic happens. Okay, not catastrophic, but something else happens. I got to be treated for. So anyway, so I get here this time. So now I got my plan. I said, first of all, I'm gonna come to Oroville every year. 3 to 4 months out of the beginning of the year, like January, February, March, at least maybe April. And last time I was there for 5 months last year. At least for like a season work, like 4 months, 3 months, like that. Because I found that I can write here. It's calming, and I can keep on, because you get old, you got to have some constant kind of thingies, attention. So I said, this time what I'm going to do, I go back to my Ayurvedic guy, because he's been treating me, they know my body. But the last month, we're coming to the last month of April, what I'm going to do, I need to find a somatics guy. This exercise I do, just a bone-up one. I know it, I don't really need it, but I know it. I want to do some breath work, right? And that's it. It's some breath work, and then see what else. Sound, some sound work, right? So, as it turns out, we're coming up to the last month I'm here because of April. I really leave the beginning of May, and I know this guy Aurelio. Aurelio, I met him long anyway. He runs this whole thing that he created when he first started in Oroville. I sort of showed up when the first group that he had. I sort of showed up, and I gave him the thing, so he knows me. He appreciates me. And so I went to him and said, look, I need da-da-da-da-da-da. He said, okay, da-da-da-da. Because he's got this whole network of people now. The place, when he started 20 years ago, was like, and now it's like, woof, like that. So I asked him for the sound work, and he said, well, yeah, but this is American that might help you for craniosacral. Now let me go back. In the 80s, I knew all different kinds of modalities. I mean, everything from Reiki to, you name it, I was exposed to it, isolation tanks, all the whole thing, right? Urology, all the alternative stuff. Went through the whole 80s, I learned all that stuff. Even sometimes traveling, I learned some stuff, okay? Like for instance, I know, I can't take acupuncture, doesn't work for me. Acupressure, maybe reflexology works the best for me. Anyway, so I talked to him. He said, well, there might be this guy there's this guy, he's traveling right now as soon as he gets back. So anyway, I contacted him. Well, I got the information, and he just got back a couple of days ago, whatever it is. I say, look, yo, man, I didn't say yo, man, like that. I say, yo, man, like this. I said, I have to, his name is Joseph. said, Joseph, like, he said, well, I'll make a schedule for you. So yesterday, I got to see him for an hour. So, I talked. So I explained the whole thing to him, how the thing happened. And right now what's happening, I'm bending over, this thing is here, and I got this pain here, and I'm here. I said, well, we can see what we can do. So he starts working on it, right? This is one session, 1 hour session. It worked. I told you it's Orville's, that kind of place. Well, it worked to a point where I know, like, this dissipated a lot. Well, it's dissipating anyway, a lot. But more importantly, I'm walking straighter now. That's the first session. So then he said, well, you know what you do with the Ayurvedic, with the massage and the heat treatment and all that stuff. This goes well with that. There's a lot of things. A lot of times when you have these modalities, sometimes they do complement each other. You see. But then he's from the States. He does the whole practical thing. He's been doing this for 35 years. He had to practice that. And he knows somebody, one of his clients, that I've been trying to get an interview with this guy. So he might be able to hook me up. So the guys in the States, I'm not going to say it is because I don't want to jinx it. So I'm going to try to so I can get an interview with this cat that I've been looking for years. I've been trying to get an interview with this person. Now he knows. See how these connections. We're in India. And I'm connected with the person that I need to get the States. I'm only here for a couple of weeks. So let's see if I can. Well, a couple of months. But let's see if I can. Pull it off and get an interview. I don't need a big interview. There's a tiny interview with this cat. And he's sort of, I don't say he's a recluse, but he's an artiste. These artists are, So I got to write a nice, sweet little thing. Hey, but I know I got a whole strategy for that. That's what I'm trying to have. I plan for everything. So back to the healing. So I knew this was going to happen. So now, for this month, hopefully this will really do what I need to do. And in the meantime, I'll still look for my breathwork person, right? And when I get back to the States, then I'll start doing the muscle work. Everything is on schedule because I've prepared. Preparation is everything. You prepare and then you go into it, right? So that's my grand ride. Let me stop right there because I've been talking too long to you guys anyway. You all guys. I like to say guys now. That's what they always say on the internet. I don't know why they say that, guys. You guys. Guys is a 4-lettered word, man. That 4-lettered word, guys. They're calling you a 4. Anyway, I got to go. Got to go.